Hello, my name is Saba and this is my media evaluation. Okay, so the first question is, in what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? Okay, firstly, I have chosen the Rolling Stone magazine for my inspiration, as well as Vibe and Enemy and Clash, because they all represent in terms of layout and structure, the conventional forms in which I try to portray. In particular, Rolling Stone, which you can see have completely different use of celebrity, which is Jay-Z, who represents the sort of R&B and hip-hop genre, and you have here Pink, who sort of represents the punk and sort of rock and alternative rock genre of music. So the use of celebrity is varied, and I liked to portray that in my music magazine. They have a clear content, and the iFlow here is clear as it's an upside down S shape, in which I also try to do here. I haven't challenged conventions because I've used the same sort of layout as the Rolling Stone, with the strapline, the masthead, the byline, the barcode, the day and issue number, and the main cover line. And yeah, and the layout is clear and it's focused, and I try to portray that in my music magazine. I used this image in particular because I thought that there's lots of space in order for my features to fit in.
This message for all these students who are in late detention, can you please make your way to the hall as soon as possible, please? Thank you.
This is my double-page spread, and this one I got from Clash magazine, which was one of my inspirational magazines. And it's an upside-down sort of C shape, and it's very conventional, in which I try to portray as well. The layout here is effective, seeing as the image is on the left and the text is on the right, and which is a very conventional route in which I'd like to follow. And the image here of my model is facing towards the text, so the iFlow is like, so people can actually start with the image and then look towards the text, and which is the same thing as Anthony Gonzalez is doing here. So it's very conventional, and I try to portray that in my magazine. For my double-page spread, I've added the credits, my masthead, a clear leading text, a drop cap, a page number, and a pull quote, and my editorial pillars are in line. This is my table of content, and for the Rolling Stone magazine, this is the table of content for this particular front cover, and it outlines Steve Jobs' aspect, and I'd like to portray that on my magazine as well, seeing as Lara's on my front cover, and I also try to highlight her sort of section, so it's clear and it's straightforward. Yeah, and the iFlow is also similar, so therefore I've developed forms and conventions as opposed to challenging them. So question 2, how does your media product represent particular social groups? This is the NRS social grade, and in particular I'd like to focus on groups D and E, which is working class, and people at the lowest level of income. And the reason why I did this was because I thought students are more inclined to buy magazines which are of R&B and hip-hop genre, which clearly highlights here it says students. And therefore I wanted to do that, and especially because the target audience is of people aged 16 to 24. So I thought that's the most conventional way of going about it. Yeah. I've also represented my social groups on my front cover, seeing as the font is clear and it's straightforward. The headphones are sort of the stereotypical prop of an R&B sort of listener. And I thought that was really conventional, and it represents my social group of D and E. The masthead is fun, it's young, it's cool, so I thought I'd do that. And the clothing is really effective, seeing as she has sort of like a cool sort of outfit, in which people nowadays, the younger generation, are more concerned about their look, and are more inclined to wear something that is more fashionable, seeing as the fashion industry is more known to people at this age group. This is my double page spread, and I represent a social group, my social group D and E, because the prop here I've used a curtain, and I thought it was a sort of conventional one because it reflects on my my article as well, because it's about reflection about a young girl growing up in a rough neighborhood, and she's sort of like as she's growing up, she's more confident in herself. And I thought my language here suits my social group because it's indirect, and it's informal, and it's clear. And the reason why I meant it to be indirect is because the older generation is more concerned about the formality of it and how direct it is. So I thought the younger generation wouldn't really mind and really wouldn't care about that. The R is symbolic, seeing as it's reflecting, and it sort of reflects on my actual DPS. The clothing here is fashionable, it's of a lovely design, and I thought the younger generation would appreciate something like this, so I tried to portray the same effect. And they aspire to be like certain celebrities, so I thought, why not have a very fashionable DPS. This is my table of content, and it represents social groups because the use of image here is of my model, Nicole, and she's wearing a hoodie, which also identifies my genre of music, which is R&B and hip-hop origin. It uses direct address when it says, "You can't miss this," and the language is clear and straightforward. And the colour, I used blue, black and white for my colour intentionally because I thought if it was red and white, it wouldn't really go with my music magazine because red connotes rock and roll and sort of the punk nature. So I thought blue would be really good and it would target my audience of social groups D and E. Yep, and the writing is small, and I thought more can be fitted onto my table of content because the students want more for what they're bargained for, and I think it's really effective. So I tried to do that. Okay, question 3 is, what kind of media institution might distribute your product and why? Okay, I chose Bauer Media because their way about choosing specific magazines is of Q, Kerrang and Mojo, which are mostly rock and roll magazines. And I think seeing as Bauer doesn't really have R&B magazines, I thought it would be perfect to situate my magazine in such a niche market, and therefore I think that this media conglomerate is more effective and suited to my media product. Bauer Media Publishing Group comprises 282 magazines worldwide in 15 countries such as China, Poland, France, Spain, Mexico, etc., as well as TV and radio stations. And it's a sort of globalized company, and I thought it would be really effective to have my music magazine in this company. And therefore I'd love to launch my magazine in Bauer Media. Question 4 is, who would be the audience for your media product? Okay, this is the NRS social grade, and I depicted D and E, which are students, which is my main priority. And my target audience is of people aged 16 to 24, male and female, students, and their ACORN, which stands for a classification of residential neighbourhoods, would be people starting out, aspiring singles, educated urbanities, which I found effective. And this is psychographic table, and it describes a person by their behaviour, and their personality, and their traits, and their viewing and spending habits as well. And I thought that this would satisfy my target audience, because it says here, especially younger demographic students, in which target my audience perfectly, and it's the explorers. And I'd want students to explore my magazine more and read it more often. Okay, so question number 5 is, how did you address your audience? For this question, I chose young models so that the people reading it would be more inclined to read, because they can relate to the models and relate about their stories and want to read on and want to read more and appeal to them and can relate as well. And they can understand their place and position within society. Okay, so question 6 is, what have you learned about technologies from the process of constructing this product? Okay, so Photoshop is one of the most helpful technologies that I've actually excelled the most on, and I was able through Photoshop to transform a plain image like this into one like this, and I found Photoshop is the most effective technology that I could actually use. Okay, how I went about my loop masthead was, I first found an innovative name in which has connotations of the word music and what impression it gives out to the audience. And I thought I wanted a word, a short, snappy word that people can relate to and people can understand, and it's more easy to remember, which is loop. Then I had to find a creative and innovative logo that implies the same meaning of the word, which was loop and replace symbols. So I thought these symbols in particular were helpful in reaching my conclusion of having a masthead, but with implications such as loop symbols, and also a play sign to go in between my P, because I didn't want it to look boring. The third one is, I went on Microsoft Word and drew out a symbol, which is here. So I went on Microsoft Word, I clicked on shapes, and I found this particular shape here, which looks like this initially. And then I used the yellow little diamonds to construct it, to make it look like this, and to have this outcome. Fourthly, I copied and pasted it onto Photoshop, which I did here. And then I placed it in between the L and the P, and I also put the pause sign on, and I put it together, and it looks like this. And that's my finished circle. For my contents page, I went on Photoshop again, and I used the clone stamp tool, and I used this particular pattern, in which I thought was effective, and it stood out, and it's bold, and it's really clear. And then I went on the colour, and I changed the colour of it to make it look to have the same consistent and continuous theme to match my overall music magazine. And this is my final outcome. So this was my main initial background. For my contents masthead, I thought, seeing as it's got an O in it, I'd use the replace symbol, which I found quite effective, for brand association in particular. So if somebody saw a loop or a play button, they'd think, oh, Loop magazine. So it would initially, straight away, they would think of my magazine, and therefore it would emphasize and increase brand association and my brand image. This can be linked with symbolism and the continuity of my overall music magazine, and there's a consistent theme in which I'd like to portray. Publisher. I know a lot about Publisher already, but I did use it for my mock-ups, especially my double-page spread mock-up, to make it more clear, comprehensive, and it looks clear-cut, and it looks really, and the layout was just really basic, and you know what you're doing because it's clear. Blogger. I didn't know about Blogger before, so it really helped me. This project really helped me excel my knowledge on it. So this is a print screen of the dashboard, in which there are loads of components here, and I used the edit button a lot to edit, delete and view my posts, and I also use the design tool here, the design button, so I can put my blog heading and my banner up, so it looks more personalised and it looks more creative. SlideShare. We use SlideShare as well, and we use this button, the orange one in particular, to upload new stuff and to show people all my work. Okay, question number 7. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learnt in the progression from it to the full product? Okay, so there's a clear difference between these two magazines. This is my school magazine, and this is my music magazine. The school magazine looks very unprofessional. It doesn't follow a clear eye flow. The masthead is a bit too small for the image, and it looks like an amateur image because it doesn't look professional, especially the lighting, which contrasts to the writing, which has got a white outline there. So it looks really messy and unprofessional. And there's 5 fonts as well, which looks very unprofessional. It's got the masthead here, and then all the different fonts, which clearly clash. And the location was in a school, so it was really restricted, and I didn't really have a lot of sort of ideas about how to go about a background that can represent school and make my front cover look cool as well, and to satisfy my target audience. So it was limited and was restricted, and the fonts are quite hard to read, and it's quite small, and I didn't write the date over here as well, which limited like the whole thing. So it really shows how a front cover like this can be transformed into one like this, but obviously 2 different genres. My school magazine is much more interesting, whereas this one's more dull, and it's plain. Whereas this follows a consistent theme, and it's really creative and looks more effective than the other one does. The use of image obviously was in the alleyway, and it looks really, it satisfies my readers, and it looks really creative. The lack of information. On this one, the font is a bit too big, and the text as well is smaller, and it doesn't really look that effective. But this one's clear. I've used the same font throughout, and I think that's the main reason why this one looks so much better and more professional. Therefore, I've understood how to use Photoshop, and I've excelled through this course. This is my contents page, and this is my magazine content, table of content. This one looks very childish. The font doesn't really match with it. It doesn't carry on a consistent theme like my music magazine does. I've elongated the words, and the images don't look that good with the lighting as well. I think it's really ineffective. And the lack of, and the use of the white space in the background is quite limited and restricted. Whereas this one, I've clearly taken on board the use of the white space, in which I've covered in my background there. And I think this is a much more professional and clear-cut table of content. And therefore, I think my use of my use and my knowledge of Photoshop has excelled, because clearly it doesn't show much in this table of content. Whereas this one looks professional, and it looks creative, and it looks more targeted to my audience. And this is clear and concise and follows a clear theme, whereas this one has no apparent theme, and which is completely contrasted with my music magazine, which is pink, and this is blue. So I've clearly shown my progression there. Whereas now I think it's more, I've excelled more, and it's more useful to me now. Thank you.
Okay, good. Could I ask you one question? Can you go back to your front cover, please? Right, can you talk me through the choice of your cover lines and why you chose these artists or lecturers?
Yeah. For this one, I read exclusive interview with Sophia, and Sophia is the one on my double-page spread.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, seeing as the consistent theme of like my colour scheme and stuff are clear and it's concise, I think that so should the words on my front cover. And seeing as Sophia is on my DPS, I thought it looks more concise and it looks more precise, I think.
And your other cover lines, your other kickers?
Yeah, this one says this week's top 10 R&B hits, which is also on my table of content as well. I just wanted to sort of carry on a consistent theme and make it look more professional, like such as magazines such as the Rolling Stone, NME, and Vibe.
Okay, good. Thank you.